You're very welcome back. You're watching Late Night Live, and I'm joined tonight by Fee and Risha Lancaster from the Manchester-based charity Coffee4Craig. So we were talking about the beginnings of how you got involved in the charity, and obviously one of the main trigger was the passing of your brother Risha. Let's talk about Craig, because it is the charity, it's his namesake.
Yeah.
So you said he was suffering from mental illness. He was schizophrenic. He was diagnosed schizophrenic.
Yeah.
So when did he sort of display symptoms of schizophrenia?
I think it was about 2 years before. I mean, I think he was a little bit unstable before and a little bit erratic, but he about 2 years before he died, he became he got very agoraphobic and didn't come out of the house. Because I lived up here and he lived down there, he was able to mask it in front of me, because I'd only go and see him about once or twice a year, so you know, a lot of it was masked, so I don't actually know what went on. But he had a major breakdown and he ended up being sectioned, and he just never really got over it, to be honest. I mean, I think one of his biggest things, because he came up to see us for a weekend not long after he got ill, and his biggest thing was he just turned around and said, "Would you want schizophrenia?" And it was sort of like, no, not really. So he always tried, I think he just tried to manage it himself and self-medicate, and that's what happened. He turned to drink, and then he eventually turned to drugs.
Which is quite common, actually, isn't it?
Exactly.
It is common.
Because I think, especially with the heroin, because I've found out afterwards, because he ended up on heroin, but speaking to people afterwards, heroin actually cuts off your emotions and makes you forget things. So I think he found that, you know, very comforting. He needed that outlet somehow. Yeah, he needed that. I think ultimately, just before he died, what happened was he went to a friend's house and he actually got clean, and he came off the but he came off the heroin. Now, apparently, when you come off the heroin, everything comes back 10 times more, and I think he just couldn't handle what had happened in the past, what had happened to him, stuff like that. So he went out and unfortunately he took the amount that he was taking, and his body couldn't take it.
It couldn't take it at that stage.
Yeah.
So he was found on the streets in Cardiff.
In a car park in Cardiff.
Okay. And was he living on the streets at that time?
Yes.
Or he was living on the streets as well?
He'd come in and out of, I think the hospital, he had gone to a halfway house, and the hospital did try and help him, but he thought the hospital was hurting him, to be honest, through the mental illness. Yeah. And his friends had clubbed together and got him a flat, and I think he sort of went in and out of the flat, but the majority of the time he spent on the streets. He was actually living rough.
Right.
He couldn't handle being inside.
It's kind of it becomes almost like we were talking about this with the we're part of the coalition of relief services, which is a big group of various organisations in Manchester that have all come together to work with the council to try and I want to say eradicate homelessness, but I'm aware that that's such a tall order.
Big, yeah, but to tackle it.
To really tackle it together with the guys that have got the money, the funding, the access to buildings, the access to, you know, the legislation and the kind of paperwork side of things, if you like, and the guys like us that are on the streets week in, week out, working with people. And I think Craig found it so difficult to be in a flat, and I remember him saying to me at one point that there's a community out there on the street. You know, you suddenly take someone and put them in a flat again, they've lost all their social skills, because they're not, you know, it's just boredom, complete and utter boredom of suddenly, you know, it's entertaining. If you can imagine sitting in the middle of Piccadilly Gardens and just people watching all day long, getting random people coming up to you, chatting to you, buying you a bag of chips, buying you, you know, a burger or something, and people dropping money in your cup, or so there's a real issue there with kind of getting people back into coping with the isolation of being housed almost.
So there needs to be some kind of liaison work, do you think, in between, intermediary kind of, you know, you don't just take someone from the streets and whack them into a house.
You can't do that.
There you go, there's normality for you.
You can't do it, it fails.
You know,
it fails.
You're okay now.
Yeah,
it's not going to work. Because obviously this is, I mean, do you feel in Craig's situation that he was let down by the system? Because there's kind of a couple of issues, isn't there? Obviously there's the mental health issues, apart from just the homelessness. Do you think that he was...
Oh, definitely. I think there's a lot of people out there who are let down by the system, be it not being, the services not being out there. And well, it would be 4 years ago. 4 years ago, the mental health services weren't there. They're not so much now. They're getting cut back, and I think there's not enough understanding.
The strain is just more and more as well, isn't it, on the system?
Unless you're in crisis, you're not helped, and that's...
I don't know. See, I kind of, in a way, kind of disagree. I mean, we have very varied views on this because I have mental health problems myself, and I have borderline personality disorder, which used to be kind of a bit of a throwaway diagnosis. It was just, oh, you've got personality disorder, it's borderline, and there you go, off you go.
Tell you with the symptoms of something else. It was an easy one, I think, to kind of throw on somebody.
Yeah, definitely. So for me, when I was diagnosed like years ago, there really wasn't any support there, like Risha's saying. There was nothing. Unless I was suicidal, I was in crisis, there was nothing. And then all you got was A&E. And if you were, you know, for myself, my experiences were absolutely horrendous.
Well, oftentimes the A&E staff aren't equipped to deal with
Of course they're not. Of course they're not. And if you've self-harmed, a lot of them get quite resentive towards the fact that you've done that to yourself when there's other people there that have had an accident that need their help, but you need it a little bit more, but you've done it yourself, and they're very conflicting, and you can see that struggle in them.
You can understand that to a certain extent.
You can understand that to a certain extent, but I think now, from my experience, mental health services this time round, because I've like literally just had crisis, just gone through another probably the biggest breakdown that I've had in years. Years and years and years. I've been fairly kind of stable, and I think the last 2 years have really taken their toll on me personally, with running Coffee4Craig and all the hours that we've put into the charity.
And obviously the trigger, of course, was Craig's passing anyway as well.
Exactly, so that's like...
That is a lot to take on, especially if you do have mental health issues yourself.
Yeah,
to go through.
And I think services are getting better. I think this time round...
You saw a big difference between when you were diagnosed in the first place?
Yeah, massive difference. They're waking up now.
They have been brilliant now, this time, yeah.
But maybe that was for you, Fee. Do you think maybe it's much more... Obviously, it's going to be much more difficult for somebody who has mental health issues and is also a homeless or something's broken down in the rest of their life.
Absolutely.
So with Coffee4Craig, what are the practicalities? How do you actually tackle the issue? What have you gone in...
I think we started with 3 street kitchens a week. We do 3 street kitchens a week on Piccadilly, and to start, that's how you get, because we're out there in the rain, we're out there in the snow, we're out there in the heat, we're out there every single week in, week out, because there's a lot of services that close for refurbishment or have a holiday or aren't open, controversially.
I think a lot of
bank holidays.
A lot of time I think with volunteer-based companies, it's quite hard to maintain.
We're all volunteers.
You guys are all volunteers,
paid. None of us. We're all volunteers. We're out there every Sunday, every Monday, and every Tuesday. We've not missed one.
That's fantastic.
At all. So there's always been
in 2 years, is it right?
2 years.
2 years. We've never missed one, and we don't intend to miss one. I've gone out there on my own and just put a table up, and the guys have come and helped me. If for any reason no one else could come, I've just gone on my own. So, you know, that we've done it with one person. We've got an absolutely amazing volunteer task force now, really, who go out and do it. But I think going out there on the street and meeting people where they are, it starts with trust. And then you get to meet and you get to chat and you get to be, and they see you in the pouring rain, standing there with no coat on and no umbrella, and they see that you've got some sort of empathy.
Well, you're showing you care, whereas so many people before you have shown they don't.
So I think that's what won the trust in the first place, and they've seen us because we've volunteered at LifeShare, we've volunteered at Narrowgate, so people have seen us in these other situations as well. And going out, and they've seen us sort of wandering around, and they've seen us at the town hall.
So you're recognisable to them.
Yeah. So I think that's what's helped, and that's what's gained trust. And then what we've done is we've not promised anything. We've said we'll do what we can. We'll give you what we can. We only give what we get donated, and we can only do so much. But we've managed to be able to house people or refer people to places, and we've always tried, because we haven't promised. I think that's what's people have said, oh, fair enough, don't they think?
Well, you get a lot of promises out there. You get a lot of people turning up and saying, oh, I'm going to house you. And then within 2 weeks, they've completely disappeared off the face of the earth.
What do you think, why do you think homelessness is on the up at the moment? It seems like it should
Sanctioning, benefit cuts,
0-hour contracts.
That's a big problem, isn't it? And we support a lot of families with food parcels.
Sorry, when you say 0-hour contracts, it's not something I think most people would actually associate, because they think, oh, he's homeless, he's no job anyway. But realistically, we're all just one step away, really, from homelessness.
Definitely.
2 paychecks.
Definitely.
2 paychecks.
Definitely.
2 paychecks, I think.
0-hour contracts are the major thing, because the thing is, you get a job, you think everything's fine, you have, you cannot, if you have a job with 0-hour contracts, if they don't pay you for 1 week, then what are you going to do? How are you going to pay your bills, and how are you going to get your food, let alone your rent? So if you go back on your rent, then you end up getting homeless and getting thrown out.
And even then it can snowball, can't it? You've arrears, or you've a couple of weeks.
So quick.
Well, very quick.
So quick.
That will be it. Well, ladies, I'm sorry, we do have to leave it there. We've run out of time. I just wanted to quickly, if people want more information about Coffee4Craig, and I know you're also working with Core Task Force, where can they get more info?
Facebook, Coffee4Craig.
Oh, you've got your propaganda. So it's Coffee4Craig. You're on Twitter, you're on Facebook, ladies. Thanks so much.
Just Google us.
And just do a quick Google. Fee and Risha Lancaster, thank you so much for coming.
No worries. You're so welcome.
We're going to go for a break now. We'll be back in just a few moments with Jacob and Liam discussing the rest of the day's news. Don't go away.